Listen up. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the podcast participants, and not to any participant's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. You know, for fun. So lighten up and enjoy. Stomping Jen.
Sawtooth Frank.
How are you today?
I'm great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Me?
Yeah, and our guest.
Uh-huh.
Our guest is Lenny Underwood, who is a Western Mass entrepreneur. He is the founder of Upscale Socks and Underwood Photo. And I am interested in talking about socks because I had a sock incident today.
Oh my God.
I posted on Instagram the aftermath of a 3.5 mile hike I did where my toe was bothering me a little bit as I was going along.
Just a little bit.
When I took my boot off, I noticed my sock was soaked in blood. Right?
It's disgusting.
Yeah, and I said to myself, thank goodness for socks. Like, seriously, like,
It's just disgusting.
the sock saved me, and it got me thinking about the importance of socks and what socks mean to us.
What a way to kick off this show.
Yeah, anyways,
Bloody
I
socks.
wanted to share the sock anecdote with
Okay.
you. Okay?
Great. Thanks for
But anyways,
sharing.
we're going to talk to Lenny about his business, Upscale Socks. We're going to talk about socks, designing socks, and a bunch of other stuff too.
Sounds great.
Okay?
Let's get going.
All right, let's get going. I need to figure out which button to push, and here it is.
The Soft Serve Podcast.
Creamy, delicious ideas without the creepy truck. Stomping Jen, I'm back to singing at you again. Much to your displeasure, by the way you're grimacing at me.
I'm still trying to process the sock situation.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's gruesome. It was a gruesome scenario. Lenny, how are you doing today?
Really good, Brad. I'm glad to be here with you and Jen.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Before we get going, I just wanted to give you an opportunity just to tell us a little bit more about yourself. I gave the 20,000 foot overview, so just wanted to give you a chance to tell us anything more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, born and raised or Western Mass native, currently residing in Springfield, graduated from Central High School, then went on to AIC for undergrad and grad school in public administration. In undergrad, I minored in business administration and earned a master's in public administration. At the time, at 22, I thought I would go and work for a nonprofit as an executive of some sort, CEO or president. But business kept growing in photography. So this will be year 18 and as a photographer, 10 years full time. And so I've been an entrepreneur all of my adult life, and I'm enjoying the journey.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a lot of business school. Did you always want to get into business? Was that a goal from early on?
Initially, it was a hobby, I would say, in high school, and then maybe the first 2 years of college. My family was telling me to get a real job whenever I would, take photos on campus or various events in the community. And at the time, MySpace was out. I wasn't on MySpace, but my source of finding clients was seeing flyers on campus or hearing radio announcements and calling organizations up and seeing if they needed photography. And oftentimes they would have me come just to test out my talent and to give me an opportunity. But I didn't really have anyone to push me to that level to say, yeah, this is a business, take it serious, file your taxes for your business, do your own marketing. I did have business cards at the time, but didn't really have that shift, if you will, to make it turning from a hobby to a business. But that business minor certainly helped me with all the components that initially helped me to grow the photography business, and then eventually start my sock line. I'm also a certified personal trainer, so that's something I earned in 2009, just out of, I would say, interest for those that would ask me or stop me in the gym and say, hey, can you help me with that form of exercising? Or, I felt like since that was constant, I could turn that into another source of revenue as well.
Has fitness always been a lifelong passion for you as well?
I would say since high school as well, like photography. I ran track in high school, and then that continued on in college. And after grad school is when I got more serious into working out daily and, going to the gym and, watching my intake and, and so that's been about 16 years going all in with fitness, and 13 years almost as a personal trainer.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to ask you a little bit more about photography and your personal training a little later in our conversation. I wanted to start by talking about Upscale socks. And I was reading through some of your materials on your website, and I was fascinated to read this little story about how in 2014 you had a dream that led you to starting the sock business, Upscale Socks, in 2016. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that dream?
Yeah, definitely. So do you remember your dreams that night, Brad or Jen?
I do.
Yes, you definitely remember your dreams.
Sometimes, if they're like super traumatic and scary, or they are interesting to me in some way. I woke up this morning and was telling you about the dreams I had. Do you remember that?
I don't even remember that you told me about your dreams.
It was funny, Lenny, and it may be because we were going to be talking today. It was about buying some buildings in Western Massachusetts to start like a business or start a company of some kind. I don't even remember in the dream what that business was, but I do remember like going through this whole thing about buying buildings. So yeah, sometimes I do remember my dreams. Is that something that happens for you a lot, or was this a really unique thing?
It was. So I rarely remember dreams. I don't remember the last time I remembered a dream. it must have been within the last month or two, but that dream was very vivid. Woke up the next morning and told a friend about it. And we both thought it was a great idea. I never worked in retail before. So it was something that would have taken or has taken quite a leap of faith and know-how and reaching out to people that has worked in those industries and could give me some insight on the whole gamut. I eventually did go solo in the journey. And it's been quite a ride.
What was the dream?
Good.
What was the dream? Did you just dream that you were going to have a sock shop?
The dream was that I owned a sock line.
Oh, okay.
And
That's so funny.
Is that something you had thought about before? Like, was fashion something you were interested in, maybe as a business person, or like, I'm curious how this got into your subconscious. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always liked color and design personally, and I like fashion, but it was never really anything that I thought about pursuing. It's just I enjoyed it on my own and possibly thought about being a personal shopper for individuals, but nothing to this magnitude. So it caught me off guard. And as I mentioned, never worked in retail before. So the interest wasn't even there, even as a teenager or in college. But I just knew that since it was bugging me for so long, for about a year until I actually took it more serious, and I pursued a program in Holyoke called Spark Holyoke, now called E4All, and where it gave me more insight and confidence on reaching out to individuals and saying, "Hey, Brad, when you're shopping for socks, what designs are you looking for? What fabrics? Or do you find your socks first, or you find an outfit to match the socks?" So all that data is what's helped me to, continue on in this process, or at least initially, and then so much has happened since I launched in 2016.
Now, was that program, do you come to them like with the germ of an idea and you're like, I have this idea, and then they help you think through like all of those elements you might need to start the business? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So you apply and you outline what you're currently doing or what you hope to do. And throughout that 8 to 10 week journey that we're on with other classmates, we're going over all the components of starting a business, be it your finances, your, finding a CPA, if you need an investor, or helping you pitch your business, just to anyone really, be it hedge to be investors or just to an audience of individuals. So that didn't necessarily give me the knowledge of finding a manufacturer or the knowledge of how to design socks, but it gave me homework assignments every week to additionally find out, how I can find a manufacturer who may be fluent in Mandarin to help me find a manufacturer in China where I may not be able to communicate to them. So it was a wonderful community of potential business owners, as well as those that are currently there, that encouraged me to really continue on. And so there's some that I'm still in touch with today that really has been successful in their own right. And it's great seeing each, individual continue on their path to success.
That's amazing to me, because I, every week I have a new business idea, and I'm telling Stomping Jen, I'm crying to her that I'm not a business person. I don't know how to do anything. I can't, Lenny, I always go to Stomping Jen and say, here's this idea. No, you do it for me.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she goes, get out of here. Right. I'm busy. I've got stuff to do. I can't do your business of the week for you. But it's amazing to me that there's a resource in the community that you could go to and like bring this idea and begin to learn like how to think more specifically about that, and like develop the skills you need to start the business. I think I need this program, Stomping Jen.
Well, you can apply for it.
Yeah, and there's so many more. I would say even throughout this pandemic that we're on, I've come across others in the area. And even I was thinking earlier about how March of 2020, from then until maybe the end of the summer, where most things were virtual, I was able to take advantage of quite a few social media workshops on, marketing your business and being creative, or, if you needed, as I mentioned, CPA or bookkeeper, how to find or where those resources are in the community. And many, even I took some Photoshop classes and through the Nikon school, and they were all for free because they knew what was happening globally. So, absolutely, there's quite a bit of resources, and some are really accessible, and you don't have to jump through hoops to pursue them.
Now tell us a little bit about Upscale Socks and your socks. I'm really interested. After I was only half joking in my story today about like it's so strange to me and cosmically coincidental that I had this thing happen to my foot. Right. And I had this nice sock on my foot that was able to soak up all the blood and protect my foot. And it's just weird.
It's not the kind of socks that Lenny makes, by the way.
I know it's not. But
he makes socks for people who want to show off their socks.
I
not
know,
their
but
bloody socks.
What I'm saying is I don't think about socks much. And like today, like this thing that happened to me made me think about socks. I knew we were talking to Lenny. I was thinking about socks. It all just seems too weird to me.
Subconsciously, like
maybe
scratch your foot.
So Lenny, tell us about socks. Like, tell us about your socks. We're really interested in hearing about that.
Yeah. So currently I have for adult, my primary focus has been for the millennial male professional. I have some socks that are more casual, but for the young professional. So they're fun, colorful, vibrant, funky, comical socks that you can wear really for any occasion. And I have socks for children as well, starting at age 1. And so I'm hoping to grow that collection a little more. As I mentioned, my focus has been for adults, but parents love finding matching socks for their child, or just colorful, fun socks for their children in general. So it's been great just doing this organically, but I've been amazed on how much traction this has gotten with organizations and businesses that have want to also partner and see what they can do as giveaways or other types of fundraisers. And really seeing such a small component, at least in my eyes, as something that could be amplified to share a message on, breast cancer awareness or mental health awareness or AIDS awareness. So there's really no limit to really anything, I guess. But you would normally see that type of, connection when it comes to a T-shirt or a hat or a, bumper sticker. But organizations have seen this opportunity as a way to connect with someone that's doing something. And I tell people, I didn't invent socks. I didn't, come up with this amazing idea to do anything magical with the socks. It's not necessarily a Shark Tank idea, even though people say, well, when are you going on Shark Tank? But I don't know if they would eat me alive in the tank, because I haven't created a technology that makes the two of you fly, with the socks on. And I couldn't, unfortunately, if I gave you a pair of the socks, at least now there's nothing that would take away the blood stains or anything instantly. But maybe in the future, I could think of something that has that ability. But yeah, that's what it's been. I tell people I'm having fun with the whole development of it. I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface, even though there's been some really good things happening with it. And I enjoy the aspect of giving back to community and how that's really been gratifying for me and those that are on the receiving end.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about some of those things you're doing to give back to the community. I wanted to learn more about the actual socks. What are they made of? And I think that's important to me. Like the socks I was wearing today, Stomping Jen, they're 100%. Sorry, they can't be 100% wool with a little bit of spandex in them. They're mostly wool.
They're like hiking socks.
Yeah, they're like hiking socks. They're mostly wool with some spandex built into them so that they're stretchy. But I'm a big wool.
You can have 100% wool, by the way.
No, you can't have well, I guess you could.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but Lenny, tell us about your socks. What are they? what are they? How are they constructed, and what are they made out of?
Yeah. So they're 80% comb cotton. So it's a really good form of cotton that will wash well and not wear over time. And they're blended with spandex and nylon. I believe nylon is maybe 12%. So that is the current blend, but I'm hoping to graduate to merino wool as well as maybe a cashmere blend to offer more premium and luxury forms of hosiery as well in the future.
Yeah, and I love how you were talking earlier about how you're using socks as a way to put out messages that are positive to the community. Because I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many, when we were doing more in-person stuff and I was in in-person meetings, I look at people's socks.
You do?
Yeah, they're sitting there, right, with their legs kind of bent. And if their pants aren't too long, your pants come up a little bit and you could see the sock.
You getting a sock flash?
And I look at people's socks.
You're a peeping sock.
And you know what? I kind of smile either outwardly or inside when I see somebody wearing an interesting sock and not just a plain black sock or something. I guess those are okay too. If you're going to a job interview or something. But I like seeing an interesting sock, Stomping Jen.
Why couldn't you wear a fun sock to a job interview?
I think you could.
You could absolutely.
Right, Lenny? You can wear any kind of sock you want.
I would, although I would have to think about it, depending on what my tie looks like and, pocket square. I don't want to be probably too flashy, but I think it would show that I have personality and may be fun to work with as well. And it's certainly a conversation piece when someone looks down and, as you said, Brad laughs at the socks or, brings up some conversation. I was in the gym locker not long ago and someone noticed my mask resembled what my socks look like. And so that became a conversation. Of course, I gave him my business card. And so I can only imagine the other conversations that are being had, hopefully, when people are wearing my socks and they're sharing how they can find them and purchase.
Yeah, I love that. And your designs, you mentioned, I was looking on the website. They're really colorful. They're fun. How do you come up with your designs for your socks? Do you do the design work yourself? Do you work with somebody? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, so when I initially launched Upscale Socks, I hired a graphic designer that did most of my branding for the business. And we partnered and he designed quite a bit of the ideas I had in my mind. And also in the program that I pursued in 2015 through Spark, there was a graphic design student. And so I want to also partner with him and he designed socks. I've also partnered with Putnam Academy in Springfield, where they have graphic design and visual shops there. And so we had a sock design contest in those two shops. And so they came up with over 100 designs. And I chose my favorite 3 out of the designs, and it ended up being the same individual that designed them. So,
no kidding.
Yeah. So, I design currently most of the designs. There's times where I may be too busy or it's too intricate or I can't get out of my mind for it to be as I would like for it to be. So that's when I will partner with someone to, take it from there. And then from there, there's quite a bit of iterations that it goes through when you're manufacturing and coming to full, production.
Do you use like computers in the design process? Do you use this is a stupid question, I guess. Do you use like InDesign or Photoshop? Like, is there a sock? Is there a
sock design app
or like a clothes designing like software that you can design a sock or put a design for a sock in? Is there something like that you use that exists?
Yes, I use Illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I have seen others be at the school. They've used Photoshop and even other forms of, if they have to doodle out the design and then translate it to, more of a digital format, then, depending on what it is, then it can be designed in Illustrator app.
Yeah. Illustrator's hard. I've never been able to wrap my mind around vector graphics. Like, I know how they work conceptually, but I've never been able to like make something in Illustrator.
I don't even know the difference.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, like, do you have to be able to like 3-dimensionalize it, like for the sock, like for the proportion of like where the foot goes and like how it stretches over the skin?
Yeah, so there's a front view, a back and side view. Mm-hmm. So you're designing that in Illustrator or whatever program that you may be using in it. So if something does have to wrap around, you have to figure out where exactly that would end. If it's, let's say, I don't know, a microphone, then you have to, place it properly so that it can wrap around at a certain point if it's on the back or on the side. And then the manufacturer, at this point, we have a good rapport where they understand and have a really good handling on how my designs are created or even what templates I use to create them.
Do you have where do you get them manufactured? Is it in China? That you were mentioning China earlier. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, they are. And that came from probably 30 or more manufacturers that I contacted globally to get price points and, see if we were fluent, if we could communicate well together. what their minimum order quantities were for the whole production, the whole gamut. So tried America a few times. Sometimes I'll get an email from a potential customer and they'll ask where they're made. And they say, well, if they're made in America, then I'm in. But I tried and it's just not feasible. I just don't know how it could be unless, we're doing $40 socks. Pair for them to be, for me to make a decent profit. It may not be that high, but it would have to be something, unfortunately. So, but they've been wonderful to work with, as I mentioned, over the last 6 years almost. And, I appreciate where I'm at with it now. I mean, unless I bump into another one, I know you didn't ask this, but unless I find a made in America company, will probably be where I'm at for a bit.
Yeah. Did the pandemic that is hopefully starting to get behind us? I'm an optimist. Did that have a big impact on the Upscale sock business,
like production?
Yeah. Did that? Were there road bumps in there for you because of the pandemic?
I would say last summer, when things, were complicated with China and, with shipping. Ours are flown through air, so we didn't really face too much, but there were some delays when I had some deadlines with organizations. So that was really complicated, and especially when it wasn't really being amplified in the news yet about, all the issues that were at sea. But once that came out, I think there was a better understanding of, where we're at and how, unfortunately, things aren't really moving at the border. And but I felt like at one point I was checking constantly to see if there was any movement or getting alerts on anything that might be changing. But that was challenging. And I'm hoping, as you said, Brad, that we can see that in our distant past.
Yeah. That's amazing to me. All the people like Lenny who persevered through that whole situation and kept things going.
Yeah.
I don't know, Stomping Jen. I'm just amazed. Yeah, hit the button. Thank you. Whoops. Louder. Okay, this is going to be the silliest question I'm probably going to ask, but I have to ask it. Do you have like a sock philosophy, like when it comes to thinking about, I'm designing a sock and it has to fall within this certain framework for me. Like, I don't know. I thought of it as a sockosophy. Stomping Jen.
What?
I just asked the question so I could say sockosophy.
That's right.
Sorry.
That's right.
No. Do you have is there something that drives the design of the sock, the purpose of the sock? I don't know. That question popped into my mind.
No, it's a good question. I would say initially I did. I think I approached it very like corporate, in a corporate manner, where Argyle and color block and really clean image, if you will. Not saying it's no longer that, but I think I said, oh, wow, I'm getting interest from other sectors, and, teenagers like them, and, older people like them, or some older people say it's too many colors, or people that are in certain settings, they say it's too flashy for them. But for me, I've found I've had a lot more fun when it comes to how many colors or patterns, or kind of thinking outside the box. And I'm really inspired when, believe it or not, in the shower, I get a lot of ideas that way. And so when I get those ideas, I say, okay, that's a sock, and I gotta run with that. And then, or if I'm driving, I see designs. So I went, for instance, to a sunflower field, and I said, well, that's a design right there. And that's a sock. And so I think I find inspiration, as many people, by who we talk to or interact with, or, what we may, as I mentioned, in the shower, what we may dream about.
Yeah.
Do you have like a intersection between your photography and your design work? Like, do you see like a sunflower field and you take pictures and use that as the basis of your design, if that's your inspiration, or?
I would say yes. Since photography is where I've spent quite a bit of my years in adulthood, I can go back in time and say, okay, I drove to Pittsfield and I remember seeing like a glass building or architecture, and I can do a brownstone sock that may be mimicking something that gave me inspiration to shoot a senior or a model at, or I would say all of the photography you see on my social media, or most of the photos, are taken by myself. So if I'm, drive with the model and we may see, I don't know, a sign somewhere, I said, well, that could be, or I'll just say, you might have seen some what was it? Like paintball splatter. That was a remix to another one that I've done before. And so that gives me ideas to go to like a painting event and have an artist wear the socks and create something graphic, artistically. So I would say absolutely. Even with the puzzle socks, I like puzzles growing up, but when they were created, someone said, those are autism colors. And so I kind of knew that, but blue is also my favorite color. So I just went with it in that respect as well. And, and people have taken to it and buy them for whatever purpose it may be.
Where can people buy your socks? I know there's an online shop. I was looking at there, and I noticed there's also a few brick and mortar locations too.
Yes. So you can find them on Instagram, Facebook as well, as in addition to my website, but they're also found at the Visitor Center in Springfield, which is 1319 Main Street. They're at Bumpy's All Natural Organic Foods in Springfield, which is 908 Allen Street. They're at Jackson Connor in Northampton at Thorns Market, a men's clothing store on the second floor. They're at Amherst Books in Amherst. They're at Rome in North Adams, Mass.
Oh, wow.
Which is near Mass Mocha. They're in Raleigh, North Carolina, at a gift shop there. Newark, New Jersey. I might be missing a couple, but there's about 10 locations currently.
Awesome.
How did you get into the locations outside of Massachusetts where we're at? I'm really curious about that because I did see that on your website and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, so they discovered me and they reached out, sent me an email and asked if they, can source my socks in their store. And there's still some that are kind of pending too, and at the Cape and in Detroit and in Baltimore. And so that's one area that I need to develop more. It's been great online, but I need help to, bring it all together, make it happen in those respects. And so that's how it's really happened. I know there's other ways where I could, reach out to them, or I could attend a show, which I'm hoping to do soon. But it's been really organic throughout the whole situation. So I'm thankful for that.
That's awesome. And I want to pause to mention to people in our show notes, we're going to have links to the Upscale Socks website. So you can go there, you can look at the socks, you can buy the socks, you can find the physical locations if you'd rather go in person and put your hands on some of them and touch them and feel them before you buy them. And we're going to have links to Lenny's Instagram,
socials,
Facebook, yep, all the things. TikTok, I saw you were on TikTok. Yep.
Yes.
So go check. Yep, go check out the show notes for all of those links. Go do that, please. Okay, so you mentioned before that giving back to the community is really important to you as an entrepreneur and a business person. And one of the things that you do is this Suit Your Souls campaign. Could you talk to us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so being in photography for all those years, I wasn't really focused so much on that aspect in the form of dollars or tangible items. I would usually donate my time or join a board in those respects. But I want to be more intentional with Upscale Socks. So I've been fortunate to partner with the Springfield Public Schools with donating socks to about 6 elementary schools back in 2017, I believe. And then that snowballed into Educare Springfield in 2020 and 2019, Square One, and Friends of Homeless in 2021. And so currently we have also, in addition to the sock donations, we're currently donating. We have a scholarship for students at Central High School to apply for that are graduating seniors. We have a sock that has an eagle and the image of Central High School. And individuals that are current alum or parents of current students or just friends of Central High School are purchasing the socks for $15, and the proceeds will go towards a scholarship that will be awarded at class day. And the applications will be available in the guidance office starting in April for them to apply for. And so it's been really humbling. Someone reached out to me yesterday and just wanted to make a donation towards the scholarship and not even buy any socks. And so I don't know who the individual is, but I'm really appreciative of them having interest, or might have seen the video that we created with some current and former students that play basketball at the school. And so the idea is to choose the high school each year and do the same thing and just keep it going as long as possible.
That is a beautiful thing. Thank you for doing that. And there's so many business people don't do this type of thing, right? And you certainly don't have to as a business person. I mean, why is philanthropy and in giving back so important to you personally?
Yeah, it's so gratifying seeing the smiles on the children's faces. And even when I donated back in December, right before Christmas, to Friends of Homeless, and we had the press there and just some of the residents at the homes on Worthington Street, how excited they were and genuinely appreciative of receiving the socks, and how they were, supportive of me, even with saying, it's great that you're doing that. And they want to know more about who I was and what I was doing. And so I feel like we can all in our own way make an impact, be it volunteering on Thanksgiving and, passing out meals to those that may be in need, or if you do have the funds to do something impactful in that respect, then that's great. But I think even for me, when I was in high school, going back to what I was able to do back then, I was part of the Key Club where we would do certain projects throughout the year. And I think that probably planted the seed back, 20 plus years ago, when I was able to participate in that aspect. And it just has always been there, and hopefully it'll just continue to grow.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. No, I always, there's something, this is incredibly selfish, but I always feel good when I do something nice for somebody else. That shouldn't be the reason why you do it, but I'm just saying. Anyways,
let's make it all about you.
Sorry. I have a particular talent for that. It's not the Jen. Lenny, what's been challenging in the sock and clothing industry? As somebody who got into this, let me do the math, 7 years ago. Like, what's been a challenge?
Yeah, initially it was getting people when I would reach out to individuals who I thought would help getting them to follow through and follow up on it. It was like a big secret, to be honest, for what I was requesting. Well, I know nothing about industry, but can you give me some type of direction and support? But it was going nowhere. And so I had to, as I mentioned, do a lot of Googling and try to figure out the process on my own. So I really can't say anyone really held my hand throughout. Not saying I needed that, but once again, never worked in the retail industry before, so I had no insight or know-how on anything. I just kind of threw myself out there and believed in what I dreamt about. I would give kudos to someone, Tara Brewster, who was really helpful to me with helping with perspective, I would say, and maybe thinking differently when it came to the industry. She formerly owned Jackson Connor with her business partner at the time. She sold it to a current partner there or owner rather. And so she was and still is helpful if I would like to ask her questions. She's there. And she has quite a bit of knowledge on stores that she's bought from or partnered with in the past and, gone to shows. And so some things I was reluctant to pursue at the time, and I may still haven't even pursued it yet because I feel like things move so quick and I'm going at the pace I can handle. And I tell people also, I don't want to just work. I feel like life can just be spent working our life away or our whole weekend or our whole weekend. We have 48 hours just to enjoy, and then we're back to work. Right. So I try to go at a pace so I can enjoy the whole journey. So it's not feeling like it's work. And before I joined this interview, I was processing orders, but I'm enjoying that process. I'm not overwhelmed with 75 orders today and then 125 tomorrow. And, so it's at a manageable point where I can get them out and they're picked up and I'm not like, oh man, I got to respond to these emails and I have to send my designs off to the manufacturer and I have to, and that is what it could get to at one point, but I want to slowly get there where it's not overwhelming. So, but when I initially started, I knew none of that. And so I just had to really go slow with, designs. And I didn't know what the manufacturer required for, their minimum and if I could even afford it. And that goes back to that. I bootstrapped the whole process. I never pursued any outside resources because I didn't know where it was going to go. And I really didn't want to have to owe anyone. And so that's where it's been. But I would, even though that to some may sound challenging, what I shared, it's been not daunting. I think part of it is because I've been in business already. So I've seen that level of stress and I've been able to navigate through it I've invested quite a bit in my businesses already. So it wasn't like, man, I don't know. Yeah. I really believed in it as well, I think. And that's why I usually encourage or share with other aspiring business owners, try to be all in. It's easy to take breaks for weeks or days. And then you're like on social media, hey, I'm back. It's been a while. It's okay to take breaks, but it's also important to be consistent at whatever you're doing. So when I went in the business, I said, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to not be a slave to the business. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to burn out. So going in with that mindset, I just knew that I had to have fun. Yeah. And there's certain things I had to say no to throughout the process. And I knew that I did not know, I'll say this, I did not know that I was going to get this much, I guess, interest from the community, be it local community or those that find it to be that interesting. Yeah. I just want to sell socks. I didn't know that much support in that respect. But it's been really gratifying and humbling.
Yeah, you said something that is really sticking with me, and that's you can be all in and committed and have a work-life balance. and take care of yourself, and and not kill yourself.
Like it's okay to say no and not have to feel desperate to say yes to everything.
Like, and the pace of the thing developing might be a little bit slower, but that doesn't mean you're not all in. And part of being all in too means, taking care of yourself so you can be there down the road too, to enjoy the success. That's a really important message, I think, Stomping Jen. And I summarized it beautifully.
Yeah.
You did. And that's been my thing, because, doing photography as well, and just, and I didn't share this, but when I get a chance, I substitute teach as well in the public schools and in the public high schools. And I do get compensated for that, but I feel like I'm doing it partially because I'm giving back, in a sense. Not that I was a bad high school student or none of that, but statistically, there aren't many black male teachers. So if I can go into the school setting and be that, I guess, image that they may need to see, or that, person that they can look to for a source of advice or conversation, then, I've been enjoying that. I've been doing that since I was 19. So it's always kind of been there as well. Whenever I get a chance. Yeah. And I can pick it up and put it down when I'm unavailable as well. So there's really no strings attached. When the day is over, the assignment's over. So I'm not contracted to be there on a long-term basis, but it's been wonderful in that respect too. I not to change the subject totally, but it's morphed into so many opportunities because of that in the business arena. And I just ended a 10-week workshop teaching business to Springfield International Charter School. And so that's something they're not learning in their school, but I was able to share with them at that young age, at 14, 13, they can start a business, because here's some examples of those that have been on Shark Tank, or who actually goes to your school and is doing the same thing, or doing something that you can also do. Wow. And I often tell them, I didn't invent socks. They didn't create the shea butter cream that they're selling, or the lip balm, or the, they're doing nails. We didn't create these things, but we created a lane and we've made it our own, or a niche. And so I think driving home, there's enough room for all of us to play and get play at it. Or me as a photographer, when I started in 2004, it wasn't as amplified as it is now, I think, because of social media. And so I can't really think of many that were at my age, 19, doing photography. And then it morphed into doing corporate, but now it's much more saturated, maybe it's a word, but that's okay too, because there's enough to go around, I feel, business and opportunities. And if you create something that you're focused on, then you can fly with it and also be full-time.
Yeah. And I love that you're spreading that message to those young minds, right? It's like putting a seed like in the ground, right? And who knows what that's going to sprout, like that. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you, Stomping Jen. I love that you're riding that board tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's true. You never know who's I'm sorry. I was just going to say, you just never know who's listening. I ran into a student that I had probably 8 years ago, and he said, "Yeah, I remember you. You started a sock business. I remember you sharing with me you didn't want to be a slave to the business when you started." And I said, "Wow, thanks for remembering. I didn't know that would drive home. You would remember that. You just never know what seeds, as you said, are being planted," and how I was really intentional about that, because I really want to enjoy. I don't want my 30s to go by, or when I was in my 20s, all those years to fly by, and like, wow, I worked my whole decade away, and I didn't really take vacations, or I was burnt out and stressed out, but I was building this great empire, which is also great. But I feel like life is worth living, and not to sound morbid, but my sister passed away unexpectedly 4 years ago, at the age I am now, 38. So, I'm really, and even before that, I've been really intentional about just enjoying life and the journey that life will take you. It's easy to have these dreams and ideas and aspirations, and I have a long list of tasks that I want to fulfill and see come to fruition. And hopefully they will. They may take 10 years, but I think it's important that I enjoy the journey and to get there.
Yeah. Did anything surprise you kind of in a good way as you got into this and things started developing? It could be something about yourself. It could be something about the industry. Like,
surprises. I would say nothing drastically, is so far at least. I haven't been to any industry events per se, so I haven't gone to like a accessory trade show where it may be more competitive in that respect, like where maybe dog eat dog and they're, fighting for opportunities to talk to store owners or, things of that nature. It's been really, I think because I've been able to control a lot of how things are going and navigating through. And, but if I get to that level where I am attending those more often, then maybe it will be. But I think even still, I'll make sure that it's a great experience, even more so, that the good will outweigh any uncertain or bad.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about your Instagram and some of the posting you do there and your photo business. And I noticed a lot of your pictures, have your models in and around Springfield or areas of Western Mass. So I wanted to ask you, is that an important focus for you, is like showcasing your product in your community and, in the valley more broadly? And is that an intentional kind of strategy for you? Like rather than, taking your socks out to, Worcester or taking them up to New Hampshire or whatever, like, is representing your product in your community an intentional and important thing for you as a business owner?
I would say it is. And I see a lot of beauty here in Western Mass and art everywhere as well, and spaces that can be really well captured. So for me, it's been so easy to make that happen. And I want to start here and then blossom off to other places where I may travel. But it's certainly much more easy to photograph someone that may be based here, and then we just meet up in Hartford or Holyoke or downtown Springfield. And when things are newly installed, then I see that as a great opportunity to document that. And then even some of the locations where there may be a store or a restaurant, people have said, "Oh, I saw your posts," and I end up going there. Yeah. So in that respect, it ends up being influential where people take advantage of a new space or a class. Even I partnered with a local gym, and someone who I know from the gym said they started taking kickboxing class there because they saw my posts. And I wasn't offering a discount or anything, but just that small piece where I came with a pure intent, they saw it as, wow, okay, I want to change up my routine here, and I'm going to take this kickboxing class. So I thought that was pretty nice to hear, and just other people that have shared what they've seen. So in that respect, those collaborations and partnerships have certainly yielded some great community, I guess, collateral.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is it hard to get good photographs of or videos of socks? Like, is that like as a photographer, is that challenging?
I would say no. It's been fun to focus on that and just kind of like a lifestyle of what's being portrayed in the image. So if it's someone, for instance, that graduated college and they're dressed in cap and gown, and I'm sharing their story of how they've gone through medical school, whatever their journey was, I start from a certain vantage point, and then it'll at certain angles, it may be like a full view or capturing what's in the background and there in the foreground. So usually not. But I found myself when I'm doing senior photos, oh yeah, you're not photographing a sock model. This is for their own personal use. So it's been, since I do so much content creating in recent years, that's where at times it's been mentally.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find models? This might be the stupidest question. Is there a sock like modeling agency? Are they people like, like, are they just people in your life that you happen to know, or friends, family? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, most people you see, I do not know. I've maybe come across their social media page and I'll drop them a message. Some I might see out at an event and it may be awkward, and it's still awkward to me at times to ask, hey, are you interested in being a sock model? But oftentimes people are like, wow, really? Are you serious? I never thought about it. But some have modeled professionally or on an amateur level, so they have some experience, which is pretty cool. Some have talents that they may not be necessarily a model, the image of what you would say a model is, but they have a great talent, or they have an interesting story, or it's a really appropriate partnership. So that's where it's been in recent years, over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, where I've broadened my net and just put myself out there to ask.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm so shy about it. I'm like, I don't want to embarrass myself, or I don't know if this is the right time. I don't want to bother them, but I hope I come across as professional. I give my card or I share my social media links if it's through social media where I'm reaching out to them. Oftentimes it's a yes though.
Yeah, it's the same for finding podcast guests. Yeah. It's just like there's this weird moment where you have to approach a person like you've never met before and be like, hey, you want to be on a podcast? We're going to talk to you. Right. And they're like, who are you? And like, why? So yeah, I can totally relate to that. Yeah.
I see
if you have strategies, let me know.
So I see the synergistic connections between the advertising for your sock business and Underwood Photo, which is your photography business. Yes. What else do you want to tell us about your photography business? Because that is interesting to me too. You do all sorts of different types of photography, right? Event photography, like portraits, that sort of stuff. Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Primarily event photography is what I do. I think that's how it's been, because when I initially started doing photography, I would, as I mentioned, I would see flyers on campus, or I would hear radio announcements and reach out if they're having a milestone birthday party or some weddings. My first wedding was November. It was Thanksgiving weekend, 2004. And so from there, I said, okay, it's on. I'm taking this all the way. So in 2005, I think I had 8 weddings. My mom's wedding was one of them. And so it's been mostly events, but I'm actually in my studio at my house. And I have where people come and do photo shoots, headshots. And I also have a photo booth and a 360 booth as well. If, people are, proms or weddings are being had and they were interested in that as well. And provide slideshows for celebrations of life, or be it a funeral or be it a birthday party. So there's quite a bit beyond just the standard still photography. I'm not really a videographer. I do get asked to do that at times, but I feel like that's an art form in itself, and something I don't necessarily enjoy that much, but I partner with quite a few videographers. And my goal for this year was to add more reels and TikTok videos to my social media platform for Upscale Socks. So that's what I've been doing in recent weeks.
Yeah,
That's cool.
event photography is hard, in my opinion, because you've got to kind of be there, but also not be there, right? You've got to be in the background, looking for the interesting thing to take a picture of and moving around, like
video,
right? But like not be seen too. Like you don't want to interfere. You don't want to interfere with what's happening, right? That has to be challenging.
Yeah, kind of like inconspicuous.
Yeah.
It is, but I really enjoy it. It really jazzes up my weekend or weekdays. I tell people, I think when people ask me, are you bored or are you, what do you do in the weekend? Well, I usually have a whole weekend of things happening. And then during the week, there's a lot of like nonprofit or corporate events that are happening in the virtual space. Not so much, but people or organizations are starting to have those types of events throughout the week now, which is really good. But yeah, I mean, it's I wouldn't say all I know, but it's what I know mostly. And it's kind of been my mainstay when it comes to photography. That, and of course, well, I guess that'll be event photography, the weddings, which has been quite tricky over the last couple of years. In 2020, there were so many postponed weddings or elopements, and then we're going to have a celebration later, which I don't know if that's the case for many other photographers, but for me, they did not happen. They just eloped or had their small intimate wedding of 10 people, and then that was it. Or maybe they had a honeymoon off somewhere and invited more people. But 2021 was more stable, and we're hoping that 2022 is really good since the limits of capacity is lifted.
Yeah, hopefully. I have to ask this. When you photographed your mom's wedding, were you there like full professional mode and like, all right, I'm doing this like I would any other client? And was that hard?
Yeah, I went all the way in. I mean, I was there from, the behind the scenes makeup sessions, and then, with the groomsmen and the groom and the best men, all of that, even when they were, doing other things like smoking cigars and just making sure that she had, and my stepfather had all of what they're looking for, hope for. They shared some of the things they wanted, but still I want to make sure that I did my best. And I did have a good time at the reception though, but I covered my bases. I was still, that was year 2 officially. So I was still, warming up to the whole profession, but definitely felt confident for what I was doing.
Had they ever seen you work before, like in that context? And was that interesting for them? And like, did they give you any feedback? Like, wow, this is what you're doing for a living. This is really interesting. Like, I'm just kind of curious if that like came up at all.
I don't think they've seen me beforehand in that respect. They would hear about my assignments and, some of the things I was doing out in the community, but never firsthand until that day. And then when I started hiring my mom or my sister to help me for a prom or a semi-formal event where I needed, support on my photo booth, or I'm doing instant prints and needed someone to stuff envelopes or frames. So seeing that whole enterprise, even more so than like that type of wedding setting where that's more intense. You're like, wow, this is a long day. But the wedding is certainly a long day as well. But when they're more involved on that end, they really get a sense of what it takes to load up the vehicle, to set up, to break it all down and then put it back in your, where it came from. So I think the level of respect was definitely given.
Yeah. I love seeing people who I only know socially, like work, like for the first time. It's like so interesting to me because they're different people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know. True. Like there are friends I've had who, you know, they're just like my friends I play video games with, or like, you know, like fuck around with. And like, then to have to see them put on this completely different persona and like do something like else, like serious and for work, is just interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's anyways, that's why I asked the question. I just, yeah.
Yeah. And going back to those years, even dealing with stressful clients or, you know, times where things didn't always pan out, that going back to what I was sharing earlier, I think prepared me for Upscale Socks, and how at times where you said challenging moments, there probably were, but I really take things in stride. I don't let it get to me. So it's probably could have been really stressful, but I'm like, I guess it's not working. It's not meant to be, or okay, I'll just move on from there, or I'll attack that next week, or, you know, I have to know how to manage it all, how to manage the stressful moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is going to come automatically.
Last photography question. Do you still use film at all, or do you do everything digitally?
It's all digital. So when I actually taught photography in 0405 in Holyoke. And so we did dark room, black and white photography there, and digital as well. It wasn't as obviously sophisticated as it is now, but it was a really good introduction for the students. And that's how we create our yearbook and like video slideshow for their graduation. But yeah, the supplies are still available locally, and I'm sure through other sources, but it's all digital, which has been great. And customers and clients, they expect that.
Yeah.
So, you know, as I'm working with UMass this week, that's what they need. And there's no contact after we're done, really. I send everything to them through a link, and that's it. And then more CD, mostly. Mm-hmm.
And they probably have a bunch of people. They take the files and they do whatever they need to do with them. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. We talked at the beginning of our conversation a little bit about your fitness and personal training work. I wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to talk about. Is that something you're still doing? Like, do you take on clients for personal training, and how can people connect with you around that?
Yeah, right now it's more of a hobby because of my time and level of involvement already. But there's still some knowledge that I do personal training. So people will reach out to me at times, and, you know, we'll do some consultations, and unfortunately, well, I guess it's a good trait to have, but I feel like I try to save and help everybody. I just want to save the world, you know, by supplying them with socks and, you know, photographing their event and providing good photography and getting everyone in shape and being at their best. So, but I had to learn to say no, and I have. But, you know, at times I'm like, man, I hope I didn't disappoint them or let them down by saying I'm unavailable right now. You know, but I think people respect that when you do that. But I just don't want them to say, I just don't want them to never reach out to me ever again if they need me for something. So I haven't done it since last summer when it comes to personal training. But I'm happy to give advice, you know, conversation to be had, or share other resources that are out there in the community that they can look into. I find myself in the gym quite a bit, and I'm not showing off, I promise, but if I do mostly calisthenics in the gym. So there's a lot of young guys, and they'll see me do a muscle up, and they always run up to me. Can you train me how to do a muscle up?
What's a muscle up? What is that? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So it's when you go, actually, when you're in the position of doing a wide grip pull up, but you're going above the bar. So you bring your body above. And so, you know, I do those pretty much each time when I'm in the gym, and there's quite a bit that you have to do to get there from a technical standpoint, but that's one of the big things that people like, at least in that setting. And then just other like smaller forms of, you know, trying to get certain definition in certain areas of their body. But
Muscle
And
up.
that is a little easier.
Yeah. I need to do one of those.
A
Stomping
muscle
Jen.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I'll kill myself if I try. Oh,
Good. That's technique.
I think I need your help, Lenny.
Yeah, I got you.
No, you're helping me by talking to me, so thank you. How do you know when it's time to like shift focus or change direction? Do you have like is it a gut thing? Do you sit down and do you look at the numbers? Like, what is it? How do you make that decision?
Usually the calendar, I would say, helps me. So I was saying this past week when we had snow, I said, should I do something associated with the weather or should I just think spring? And so I said, I'm done with winter. I'm trying to move forward with, designs when it comes to spring and summer and even what fall may look like on some levels. But sometimes I do get stuck in seasons or there's people that I'm working with that are focused on certain things that cause me to be there. Or sometimes I'm behind on, let's say, sharing information about holiday, Christmas season. So it kind of depends on how busy I get on some levels, but when you're working with other individuals, be it someone that's filming and you're waiting on the video to be created and sent to you, then that may be unfortunate where you have to continue to work on that area of focus, and you may be behind or in your head where you want to present that information sooner. So it kind of depends, but it's usually a calendar. I'm huge on being a taskmaster, I guess, and fulfilling things and staying on task when it comes to things. Can't believe it's, we're at this point now, the year.
We're recording this at the end of February, right, Stomping Jen?
Basically March.
It's going to be March soon.
Yeah.
If my understanding of the calendar is correct.
Then it's going to be summer.
Then it'll be summer.
Then it'll be fall.
Yeah. So Lenny, we've covered a lot here. We've talked about Upscale socks. We've talked about Underwood photo. We've talked about your interest in fitness and personal training. Was there anything else you wanted to talk to us about before we shift into our last couple of questions?
Not really. I feel the same way. It's been, very enriching and hopefully inspiring for someone that's listening to literally live your dreams and to think outside the box and be creative and enjoy life, and take on the adventure as well. And that's one thing I guess I can add too is, just be a risk taker on some levels, maybe cautiously, but take some risk and put yourself out there when it comes to certain things. I don't know if you're going to ask, but my friend that was on, who I shared my dream with, we were on Wheel of Fortune together, and we would often do certain things. When we live locally, be it skydiving, or he was my running partner when I started doing long distance running. And he was my workout partner at times. So it's good to have someone that, encouraged you to, take it to a certain fitness level or vice versa, or just someone to, chill with. So that was certainly, being able to experience those things together was great.
What was it like being on Wheel of Fortune? I must know about this.
Wheel of Fortune.
It was great because they prepare you very well, I would say.
But did they send you like a bunch of stuff ahead of time? Like, and where do you go to film?
Apply?
Where do you go to film the show? Is it in LA?
It is, yeah. So you first apply to be on. You say, "Hey, I'm Brad. I'm this amazing podcaster."
Go on. All true. Go on, please.
I hike multiple miles a week, and I'm amazing. I have an amazing voice, and I have really cool tattoos. Whatever you want to say. And so from there, they, if they're interested, they'll invite you to an audition. usually based on where you live. So he and I auditioned in New York as individuals and as friends. So they basically make that decision based on what their how well we do together, with answering questions and introduce ourselves. We're doing written puzzles while we're there. They're watching our body language to see how well we can perform under pressure. It's about 3 hour session. You're there. They're auditioning people all day. I think we were around maybe 6 o'clock that day, or maybe 3 o'clock. And so this was in 2015 when we auditioned. And then we got, if you receive a letter 2 weeks later, that means you're in the queue to be filmed eventually. Oh. But they let you know 2 weeks prior to going on for your filming. So we knew it was going to happen at some point because we got a letter in the mail. But is it going to be in a month? Is it going to be in a year? So it ended up being almost 3 years later.
Oh my God.
So 2018.
Wow.
But when we were there filming, and they're filming in one day 6 episodes. So we get to Culver City, LA, which is where Sony Productions is. And those big enterprise where they're doing music production, Jeopardy studios where we practice our pitch, our introductions, and gone over all the legal information and seeing how to clap properly, and we're doing makeup and hair and the whole gamut. We don't start filming until noon. And then that's when we meet Pat and Vanna, and they're telling us we're going to do great. And then the audience comes at around that time. But everything's really fair, as I mentioned, and really on the up and up. So they send you a package in the mail ahead of time with all the categories and possible puzzle titles and how to dress, what not to wear, what time to ride, where to stay. We had a snowstorm here when I was leaving in March of 2018. So they're calling, hey, are you able to still come because the weather's funny there? But my flight was delayed, but I got there in time because they have alternates that live in that area, in like San Diego and LA area, that are also there doing the same thing in case we don't show up or we get nervous and can't perform.
Right.
But flying back, I had someone's surprise 50th birthday to do. So I was like, I cannot be late getting back to Massachusetts. My flight can't be delayed. I mean, I can't have jet lag. All those things have to be like perfect. And I had dodgeball tournament in the morning, but that ended up being canceled. But it all worked out perfect. I just knew that was meant to be because we ended up winning the show. I don't know.
Oh, you did?
Wow.
Yeah, we won our episode. We won a trip to Guatemala, but I ended up going to Panama with another friend of mine, and he went to Costa Rica with his mom. And we won, money as well to go along with it. So it's
super fun.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Who knew? I had no idea that it was so involved.
Yeah.
So much.
When you're doing the auditions, do they have cameras and are they filming you? And do you think here's a dumb question. Do you think your experience with cameras and being and filming other people and did that take the pressure off you a little bit? In terms of your nerves, it was no big deal, cause you're on the other side of the camera and you're used to that stuff.
I've been more used to being behind the camera up until the last, maybe at this point, 6 years where I'm doing much more interviewing. But at that point, I was only maybe a year and a half in with Upscale. So I was still nervous, but I practiced my pitch and I was mentally prepared, I would say. I wasn't and then I think also what's helped me with opportunities, whatever they may have been, is being in the classroom setting where I'm doing, where I'm sharing a lesson with students in high schools, or, sharing about business when I'm, doing my workshops. So in that respect, it has been helpful. It obviously is pre-recorded, but there's an audience there. And yes, you're saying, well, there's millions of people that will be watching this, and all of those mental thoughts that go through your mind. But what helped me also that day, Brad, is seeing all of the episodes being filmed, because unfortunately, and fortunately, the unfortunate part was we had to stay until 6:30 p.m. because we were the last episode, because my friend pulled 6 as opposed to 1 or 2, right? Where we could have left at maybe 1 o'clock. But so that was the con of, being tired, and
but you're also there for 2 hours. Yeah, you're also there. You're getting to hang around and you get to settle your nerves a bit.
True.
Like one of the things I do when I do a public speaking thing, I get there early. I walk around the room. I meet as many people as possible. I say hello, introduce myself, tell them what I'm doing there, just to so then I get to look out and see a few faces. You know what I mean? I get myself comfortable with the environment. I learned that by reading a book, Stomping Jen.
That's great.
On public speaking. Lenny, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. That's amazing. I've never met a game show winner before. Right?
Hopefully you'll win one day.
I can't be Jeopardy.
Like word puzzles.
Oh, I hate puzzles. I'm horrible at them. Maybe Big Brother. I like that show. I might be able to win that. Because I'm a sneak, and I like to what else, Stomping Jen?
Yes.
I like to
manipulate people.
That's not true. I'm a people person.
That's right.
Let's go with that. All right.
I'm a people person.
All right, Lenny. Okay, when you're not working on Upscale socks, when you're not working on Underwood photo, when you're not in the gym, what do you like to do for yourself? Just to get back to Lenny and, decompress, connect with yourself.
Yeah, that's a good question. I find going to gym therapy, to be honest. I really enjoy it. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love the results, but my workouts are not that easy, so I don't necessarily enjoy it always. But I would say that's, being in the sauna and taking a nice cool shower afterwards is awesome. And I enjoy, really nice music as well. I love jazz. I like, old school soul music and hip hop as well. But I would say that's a really good way for me to even paint. So I had some renovations done to my house recently. So I'm looking forward to getting some therapy in with painting my front and side door a certain color. Nice. And that's relaxing for me as well. Just small things. Getting extra sleep means a lot to me as well. And just, catching up on some reading. I like going to church. So, even that, I have some really good friends there as well. So just small things make me happy, I would say. Cool. I'm not that complicated. And cool. I think I'm enjoying the journey that I'm on and keeping my stress level manageable.
Cool. Thanks. All right. Last question. And I always feel like I have to explain this question.
You don't have to. Just ask the question.
All right. I'm just going to ask it. What have you experienced that you can't explain? So just something from your life that still, you think about it and you're like, that one's still a mystery to me.
Yeah. Interesting. Something I've experienced that I cannot explain.
Sometimes people just say, you know what, I'm not answering that. All of life is a mystery to me. So.
It's maybe some of the connections that I've made and how people have a vested interest in what I'm doing. I guess that's explainable. To some at least, but to me, I'm like still really humbled, even by opportunities that I've been given, or the people that I met, and how just things seem to be really magical, where I'm able to align with certain people so easily at times, or wow, they responded, and you didn't really see that happening. So maybe things like that is maybe hard to explain or fathom, but I just have to know that oftentimes on the other end, they're also human, and they have maybe an interest in what I'm doing. And
yeah, but sometimes, but sometimes the right people are in the right place, and they shouldn't be, right? Like that is a mystery sometimes. For me, anyways, that's been something.
You're a mystery.
Why, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment, Stomping Jen. No, thanks for the answer, Lenny. That was great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, Lenny, we've come to the end here.
I can't explain it.
What can't you explain?
How we got to the end.
I can. We asked.
Come on, I'm trying to make a joke.
Leave the jokes to me, Stomping Jen. No, Lenny, thank you so much. It really was an absolute pleasure talking to you and hearing your journey and hearing your thoughts. And
yeah,
I really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. I really appreciate the invitation and for being in this space with you.
Yeah. And someday in the future, we're going to I would love to do these in person with people, because I think you connect so much better with people in person, but that's a goal to work towards. Listeners, I have a few things to say to you, right, Stomping Jen?
Oh,
there's some things we always must say.
Threatening.
Well, listen, there's some things we need people to do. Number one, go to the show notes, okay? And find the links to Lenny Underwood's different endeavors here, okay? So there's Upscale socks. We need you to check that out, please. Okay? Buy some socks. There's also the donation program that's going on through there. So you can buy socks and have some donated, okay? If you just want to donate cash to some of these philanthropic endeavors that Upscale Socks is involved with, you can do that too, okay? But anyways, go check out Lenny's website, Upscale Socks, Underwood Photo. If you're looking to get some pictures taken, right? Mm-hmm. You got a wedding coming up,
special event,
a graduation. Right, we're coming up on graduation season, right? Check out Lenny's website, Underwood Photo. Again, the link will be in the show notes. You can find it there, okay? What else do we need to tell people, Stomping Jen?
We love you.
Thanks
for listening.
That comes at the end. We need to
download,
we need to threaten people a little more first. We need to do some more threatening. All right, we need to do some
don't threaten people.
Stern asking first.
What are we asking?
So if you're listening to this for the first time, right? Because through our advertising, you knew that Lenny was going to be on, right? Subscribe to our podcast. Okay, you found it. Chances are you did that through an app, right? So subscribe. Okay, download our episodes. There's a lot more good content coming.
Oh yes.
Lots of stuff in the queue, right? It's always coming. So, subscribe, download our episodes, shoot us a message, right? Leave us a comment on social media. Do all of that fun stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
All the stuff.
That's it.
That's right.
Is that it? We're done?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Exhausted.
All right. Lenny, we'll just ask you to say goodbye to folks, and then we'll say our goodbyes, and then we're going to close it out.
Yes, listeners, I hope you were intrigued by what was shared, and hope to possibly meet you or hear from you in the future. Feel free to drop us a message if you'd like to connect. We're on Twitter now as of January. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn actually as well. My personal LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out.
All right, and I'm going to add those links to the show notes too. Thanks, Lenny. Again, it was a real pleasure. Stomping Jen.
Bye now.
All right, listeners, you know the deal. Thanks for listening. We do love you, right? Mm-hmm. Some love. I'm sharing some love. Mm-hmm. I feel it today, so I want to share that. We love you, and well, there's nothing else to say but
bye now.
Bye now.
This world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth. And that in the goodness of time, all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road.